Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Tyler Carlson with us this morning. Tyler, good to see you.
Good to see you.
How you been?
I'm doing great.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You look like you're doing great. You look like a successful man.
Well, I'm doing all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, doing okay. Life is good.
How's the state of the MEC?
MEC's doing very well, I think.
I think you
we're
need a
doing
state
great.
of the state address for that. You really do, because every year it's just exciting what you guys have done over there.
Well, instead I'd like to just tweet, like the present president. Just tweet away. So.
If you can tell me how to find it, I will. I don't know any. I know jack about tweeting.
I have no idea either. I've always said to my kids when they say, "Dad, you need to learn how to do this," I said, "Tweeting is for twits." So I don't do any twittering or tweeting. So.
Well, you and I were talking during the break. You know, nobody wants to call and talk to people any longer, which is really kind of sad.
Pretty strange.
Yeah, and that one instance, I don't know if you want to repeat it on the air, but you're telling me about.
Yeah, no, I've watched
so
this
hard
in
to
person.
believe.
No, I've watched this in person where a young woman that's in her 30s was calling in sick, so she called her mother and had her mother call in to the business to call in sick for her, which is really, really odd to me. That I think we need to make sure that folks are engaging in direct dialogue and not that.
She was afraid you had that voice thing that could tell whether she was not telling the truth or not. Was
Probably, but it wasn't to my business, so it was another business.
Okay.
But I watched it happen, so it was
That is
interesting.
just crazy, isn't it? So, tell me some of the things that are going on here in the future.
Well, we're about to roll out, and we're about to try to figure out how to wrap up this WCS, the Western Competitive Solutions. And I talked to you about it last year, and we rolled out with a number of checks that were $168 a piece. And the idea was for us to close up that business. Mm-hmm. So that business would be closed up in 2016. We didn't want to carry over and keep doing tax filings, tax forms, reporting forms, that type of thing. Keep the accounting going into 2017 for something that it's gone. It's basically done.
Right.
So we tried to get all the checks all done and wrapped up in 2016. About 95% of the checks were cashed, so it just about $5.3 million, almost $5.4 million were cashed. So the majority of folks, vast majority of folks, were able to get them cashed. But since we were closing it up, we didn't want to keep lingering it on. We also didn't take out of that particular pot of money enough money to keep carrying it over year after year to possibly make sure everyone can get their checks cashed. So what we did say is, if you don't get your check cashed in time, what's going to happen is we're going to take those funds and put it into another fund that is going to go to community actions, community activities, and so we're about to kick that off because we don't want the money lingering any longer in that account.
Not doing any good.
Not doing any good. Community obviously needs, could use some dollars. So we're trying to allow this money to get out to the community to make sustainable changes for community purposes. It could be a 501c3. It could just be a plain old community group that's trying to get something done.
Right.
So we're about to kick this off, and of course, we've got a board. We've come up with a board that's not connected to Mojave Electric or Western Competitive Solutions. And we've kind of gone through, we've put together an ad hoc committee outline, and we've got some members that have already agreed, and we're still trying to get a couple of other members that'll serve on this committee that'll actually go out and solicit and get the grant paperwork in, and then go through the rating process of some type and come up with how to spend this over $150,000 for the community. So we're excited about it, but one of the people that we wanted in this was somebody that was involved in the communities, knows the communities pretty well, knows something about charitable organizations, and probably is a fairly decent person, but it's not an MEC member. And so we were wondering if you would do that, if you would be on that board, kind of a independent.
Kind of lost me back there when you said a fairly decent person.
Well, I said fairly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we've got some latitude there.
Okay. So anyway, if you would,
I'd love to.
We'd appreciate that because you have background experience in this, and you get to see the community from all different angles, and you're not vested. Because it's not, it wasn't, you weren't part of MEC or WCS or any of that stuff, so it's kind of a third party, and I appreciate that. Thank you for doing that. Appreciate it. And actually, here's a folder that has your, just in case.
My work, huh?
Your work. So.
Oh, boy, here we go. All right.
So
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. We appreciate it. And we hope that you guys can get off the deck, and you guys will manage yourselves.
Absolutely.
You'll get off the deck, and hopefully within about 90 days have some recommendations for us to disperse the rest of that money.
Absolutely.
So
No,
if you didn't get to cash your check, I guess you can at least say and see that it's going to
do
community
some good.
purpose.
It's gonna
Exactly.
absolutely do some good. Yeah, I'm flattered. Thank you for asking.
You bet.
So, you and I have talked many times, and you kind of got me straightened out on this solar thing, right? Kind of.
I don't know.
Yeah, well, okay, so you don't know. It's kind of like me and Zaborski will never agree on Griffith Energy. So,
That's right.
yeah.
That's correct.
But now, Nevadans kind of got short-sheeted. I mean, big time, because NV Energy came back and hit them with, we're not going to give you quite as much money back. In fact, we're not even going to give you hardly a percentage point back. Now, they got a little bit more of that back. They got grandfathered in, the other people did. But the solar industry went down the tubes in Nevada. Just nothing going on. And now I understand the legislature, someone up there is just trying to get this whole thing going again, along with Nevada NV Energy, because they've got a commitment. They have to follow through to have so much of their power by solar or wind or some other green resource within a few years, right? Are you guys?
What's happening with us?
Yeah,
that's
what's
what you're
going on?
asking.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, in area.
Did I explain that correctly with Nevada?
Yeah, I
Maybe?
think.
Okay.
Well, you explained it from your perspective, absolutely.
Okay.
You know how that always goes. We all have a perspective.
You are so lenient with me. Thank you.
But in Arizona, they've gone through what's called a value of solar scenario, a bunch of hearings and that type of thing, and to come up with value of solar ruling. It's been going on for about 2.5 years.
Right.
And all the players, all the big players have been involved, all the large utilities, the folks such as the solar folks, the out-of-state solar folks, or the solar folks themselves that are interested in what happens, as well as the people who have solar, or people that want to sell solar.
Okay.
They've all been involved in this process, and it's not nearly as, and it looks like the outcome is done. There's going to be some flailings of people didn't get exactly what they wanted, so someone's going to contest a position here or a position there, but
Sure.
essentially it's done. And it's got a lot of the parts that you've described, which are some grandfathering things that make sure that if you did buy in to solar and you bought it and you thought, through no fault of your own, but you thought that these subsidies were going to stay for a long time, they'll stay for a while for you. So the rug's not going to be completely pulled out from under you, which is what your
Right.
perspective was
Right.
in Nevada. So there are those types of rules that have gone on. What's been interesting to us in Mojave Electric is we have folks that have bought solar and bought into solar, but the premises in which they bought into it, if you looked at some of the assumptions that were into the product that they bought, and we can't really solve those. And I'll give you an example. So a lot of people who leased solar or bought solar, there was an analysis done that told them what their return on investment would be. When would eventually this pay off?
Right.
And that's a natural thing to do in any
Right.
business venture. You got to try to figure that out. Well, in the assumptions were that the rates would go up about anywhere from 3 to 4% a year.
Okay.
The utility rates.
Right.
And what's happened is since 2012, our rates have gone down, including where we're at today in 2017, by 14%.
Unlike the rest of the state.
It may be unlike the rest of the state, but our rates have gone down.
Wow.
So if you walked into a deal, as it would be, if you walked into a deal, and this is based, it's up on the board, it's based on our average kilowatt hour per month. In 2012, you can see the number, and in 2017, you can see the number. So if you went into a solar venture on your home or your business, and one of those critical assumptions was what's going to happen to electric rates, that just didn't pan out.
It's kind of like betting on the stock market.
It's a little bit like that. Yeah, it is. And it's really not Mojave Electric's fault, I guess, that we didn't raise our rates
Right.
4% a year. But sometimes when you get into these deals, the most important thing to do is to look at the assumptions, and you got to verify whether or not the assumptions actually make sense. So there are some folks that you really can't help from that standpoint, that the
Right.
assumptions were wrong. We certainly didn't come up with them. We certainly didn't verify them. But that happens. That happens
Wow.
to some folks. But your perspective on what happens with solar folks and just pulling out, and what you really talk about is the net metering provision just pulling out. That's not where the value of solar went in Arizona. However, the eventuality of net metering, it will go away, but you won't have bought into a product, and you won't have bought a product based upon a set of rules.
So what do
rules.
you suggest then for people who are now looking at, don't necessarily have it installed, haven't already signed on the dotted line, have not committed, but are seriously looking at very possibly putting solar power into play in their environment? You know, what kind of there is no guarantee. I know in life there's no guarantees, but what's the safest move for them, do you think?
Well, that's a tough one, because you'll have some people that the desire is solar, period. So it really doesn't matter what the economics are, and that's really a personal choice.
Sure.
There are folks that are installing solar because they have some capital. They want to install solar because they want to keep their bills low, as low as they can as they move into retirement. That sounds like a reasonable thing to do, a rational, reasonable thing to do. But if you're signing up to solar, of solar on your house or whatever, be very careful about the assumptions that are in your return on investment, your actual business plan, or the business plan that's been proposed to you. Be very careful about that. And if you have a question on some of the assumptions, I mean, there's some that we can't actually analyze for you.
Sure.
But take a look at the interest rate that's assumed. Take a look at the utility rates that are there. We can give you input. You can ask us, and we'll give you history, and then you can judge yourself whether or not that forecast or those interest rates are making sense. But those are things that you need to really take a look at and think about, and also think about that the rules can change over time. A new commission or a new era, a new regime can change. These rules were created 8 years ago by a whole different commission, and they're going to change again.
So if a guy gets panels, is it the fact that the panels create electricity and they run it through the meter, and they get paid on that power that they make doesn't necessarily go right into their house, right? It's registered.
Yes.
And then they're paid for that.
Well, here's the
How does that
I guess
work?
the dilemma is, I guess that's the thought. What you're saying is trying to figure out what that thought process is. If you're generating enough electricity with your solar to meet the needs of your house, nothing's coming into your house. It's all being used right there at your house.
Okay.
But in the event that your generation is larger than the generation that or larger than your load, then there is electricity flowing back. And that electricity flowing back is going to the system, and that system is actually going out in the system. And for us, Mojave Electric, we're buying solar energy for really inexpensive prices right now. I mean, the last PP&A that we just signed, that was the big solar farm out there, was just a little over 4 cents. That's what we're paying for it. So the difficulty is paying a homeowner 8, 10, 12 cents for the same power that we can buy for 4. That's what the difficulty. That's what the difficulty is, and that's really where the rub is. That's where this whole rub is what price should you actually be paying for that? And certainly we know what the value of solar is for us, because we're buying it.
Sure.
We're buying it at a larger scale. And truthfully, the larger scale power is the least expensive. It's the most cost effective. Is the larger scale power like we've bought. So you can rest assured, I guess, as a Mojave Electric customer, that just about 15% of the energy is coming from renewable resources.
Already,
Right this moment. So you can say to yourself, if that's what your goal is to have a portfolio of green energy. We have a significant portfolio of green energy. In fact, we're probably as far along with green energy as any other utility in the state of Arizona.
So if you're a homeowner and you have this renewable energy, i.e. solar panels, should you be looking at it just that, okay, as long as it takes care of my afternoon load, which would be air conditioning, certainly in the summertime, this, that, and the other, and at night, obviously, I go back to the normal grid, that would make me a happy camper. But people don't look at it like that, right? They think that it should be powering enough and they should be getting money back regardless.
Well, I think some of the earlier assumptions with both the rules and folks who are actually doing the selling was that this is a money maker for you. Is that if you produce enough, you can make money. It's really a money maker.
Right.
And the problem is that if I'm buying solar at 4 cents and having to buy yours at 12, it's hard to fit it into an 8-cent rate.
Well, and explain to the normal ratepayer.
Right, and,
yeah.
And the other ratepayers are picking up the difference, which is the non-solar folks are picking up the difference, which is in essence where this core problem has come into play. And I don't blame the earlier solar folks. I mean, I understand what they were doing. I understand their thought process. I understand what they read. It's just kind of the rules were set in a way in which we all said there's going to be a train wreck with the rules and how you've set them.
Yeah.
And sure enough, here we are years later, and the train wreck is occurring. And it's really too bad. Like I said, I feel bad for the early entrance into it. But at the other side, I bought LED light bulbs when they were really expensive, and if I wouldn't have bought them, they wouldn't have got cheaper.
Right.
So there's something to be said for that. Is that if we don't all go buy them, instead of a 12-cent bulb, now they're 2 for $3.
Right.
But they were $12 for me when I bought them a number of years ago.
So the potential for using energy other than what's provided, it's a person really going into this has to reduce their expectations into what they're going to get back.
I think they have to have realistic expectations, and they have to be careful with expectations that are given them by assumptions, assumptions that may not be realistic. And the most unrealistic assumption was the every year your utility is going to increase its rates. That's obviously
not
obviously an incorrect assumption that was sold for a number of years.
Is there, and I don't know if you can answer this, I don't even know if you know, but is there a huge, I mean, it seems like these solar panels are just outrageously expensive. And I know that what is used in them is not. I mean, realistically, you start putting, manufacturers build these things by the millions. Are they overpriced at this point?
They have come down in price significantly, which is why we're able to buy, install the solar that we did, or buy from the developer. And just so you understand, the reason why we were able to get it as low as we were is that we're a nonprofit entity, so we can't take advantage of any tax breaks or any that would be state or federal subsidies.
Right.
But the developer was, and so we buy the power from the developer, and they're able to take care of it, take advantage of those tax breaks, and then we're able to see a lower price. Mm-hmm. So there is something to be said for that. But there are minerals in the solar panels that are rare earth minerals we either can't find them or we're not allowed to mine for them in the United States, so they come from other places like China.
And they are aware of that.
Yeah, and they are the rare earth minerals are difficult to obtain, and they are fairly expensive. And actually there are environmental issues with making panels, as well as decommissioning them, because there are some heavy metals in the panels themselves. So when you're done, they'll have to be taken care of in a special way. But during the time that they're producing power, they're pretty clean.
I guess it's just the thought that anything that gets popular and well used gets expensive just because of its popularity.
Right.
I don't know.
Well, what I've really seen is that while there was a subsidy, and while there was a mandate in order to put solar in for the very large utilities, that the price was high. And when the mandate's gone away and the subsidies have gone away, the price has come down. So, and we're a prime example, because we weren't required to actually meet a certain requirement. We let the market determine when it was the right time to pull the trigger. Right. And so we were able to pull the trigger at the right time. And in doing that, we got very reasonably priced solar power. And if that's what your goal is, to make sure you have some green power, you can rest assured, Mojave Electric members, you are getting some green power.
That's great. That's phenomenal. You don't hear about that much anywhere else other than around here. Well, congratulations, I guess. You missed a meeting, and all of a sudden you're the president of the chamber.
Yeah, that's kind of the case, isn't it? Oh, I guess, and I missed a second one, and I'm on a special committee, and I appreciate you bringing that up, because we are working pretty hard at the chamber right now, and a lot of our work right now is to get the financials in the right place.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a business has to run as a business,
Right.
and all that all has to take care of itself. But we're really focused on making sure that when we do decide what to do with the chamber opening, that we hand off a business that works. The financials all work. The budget process is in place. All of the roles and responsibilities for the board and everything is all in place. And we really didn't have that, especially financials. So we're working really hard to try to move the financials over into QuickBooks. And we're getting that all done, so we can
Wow.
actually look at what parts of the business are profit centers and what aren't profit centers. So if you're wondering what the chamber's doing, primarily right now we're focused on the business right now, to make sure that we get that all squared away and right. And I'm not saying that there was something wrong or squirrely
Understood.
that went on at all. I don't want you to infer that, but we do got to get the business straight. We got to get the financing all lined up and straight.
Well, there's a million different directions the chamber's been running. I mean, all chambers do run that way, and it's just, and especially when you've got someone short tenure, like Elaine was. I mean, and then leaving and saying, "Oh boy, here it is." I mean, you've got your work cut out for you, no question.
We do.
You've got a good board too.
I think we do have a very good board, and the executive board that we've been working with is they're great too. We all understand the problem. We all been able to comprehend and understand what the problems are, and try to get this righted and put together. And John Pinnaker's really been great stepping in as the interim. You know, he's just jumping in and jumping in the deep end and see if he can swim.
Wow.
And but we are all working very hard right now. A lot of us are. There's a few of us on a committee that's trying to get the roles, responsibilities, and all the policies and procedures written. And then there's a group of us that are working with John to try to get the financials all put together and get them on a couple of computers for them, so they actually have access to them, because we'll probably end up doing the chamber financials and chamber books in-house.
Oh wow.
To the chamber. But it takes some investment as far as resources, whether it be QuickBooks as well as somebody's got to set it all up.
Right. Right.
You don't just get QuickBooks and it's set up for you, or set up for your specific business.
And you guys, you generally, the chamber, if I remember correctly, works about a year out. I mean, you start really planning on things a year out.
Yes, we do.
And if I'm not mistaken, next weekend is the big day, or this weekend is the, isn't it a dinner party or something going on?
I'm unaware of a dinner party going on this weekend, but I know that in
Taste
June.
of Bullhead.
Yeah, it's a
Taste of Bullhead, yes.
Yeah.
We have the Taste of Bullhead, yes.
Yeah.
That I'm aware of.
Okay.
But that's kind of a fundraiser function for the chamber. I thought you were talking about a chamber meeting.
No,
And I was all
I'm sorry, I misled you.
panicking because I wasn't aware of the meeting.
What other tricky questions do I have here?
But yeah, the Taste of Bullhead, which is a big deal, come on out. It's one of our larger fundraisers.
I guess
and,
then I will be there.
Fantastic.
Absolutely, looking
That's
forward
fantastic.
to that. So, and how are you? I mean, you've got so many things going on. Are you finding any time to relax?
Yes.
Are you?
Once in a while, yes, absolutely. And I would have loved to have gone on the motorcycle trip, but I can't hardly take more than a few days at a time
Oh,
off.
it's
and
going to
you
be a
guys
good
can-
one, too.
I know you are. I
I'll be
know.
thinking of you when
Yeah.
I'm sitting in that hot pool up there at Pagosa Springs. Tyler, should
Yeah,
have been
that's
here,
right.
baby. Should have been here.
That's right.
Well,
Just
that's
take
too
a
bad.
picture of the drink and
Oh, I will, right?
Text it
Yeah,
to me.
right. And then right across the street, the river and the bars in
Right.
Pagosa Springs. I'll get it all for you. I may send it live. Who knows? Well, the chamber is, it's been coming along nicely, and I got to tell you that the improvements that were made here in the last year or so on the way the building looks, the exterior of it is just absolutely beautiful. I know that there's been a lot of effort put forth on that by a lot of great people.
yeah, there have been. So and we appreciate the folks that have stepped up. There's been a lot of people on the chamber, and folks don't get to see it. But there's a lot of people that were on the chamber themselves, they're chamber members or chamber board members. They really pitch in with their own direct help or help from their businesses, whether it be Barron's Pest, control or it's MEC working. I mean, or Mojave Electric.
Yeah.
We're all trying to do what we can and pitch in to try to make it work. It's really important right now where we're trying to get it all righted financially. And I don't mean to say that it's upside down, but books-wise, it's pretty hard to follow. And we're going to get that straight.
And I'm not trying to pin you on this because we've only got 1 minute left. Very quickly, what do you think about the Historical Society moving their building across the street rather than in the park?
I have really no opinion.
Really?
I'm sorry. I really don't have an opinion. I really don't. There's a lot of things I worry about in life.
Yeah, that's not one of them.
No.
Tyler, thanks so much.
Thank you very much. And thanks for participating with us.
Thank you for asking. I appreciate it.